Welcome back to the Train of Thought podcast. In this episode, we are going to be reviewing Survivor Season 40 Winners at War, Episode 4, which, spoiler alert, was, in my opinion, the first episode in which a big target went home, unless you count Amber in that category, and it was Tyson, and what was probably my favorite vote of the entire season at this point.
I liked it if they all would have voted for him, but Nick voting for Kim.
I told you why that made sense, though.
I get it, but I don't think anybody else knew he was going to do that.
That's the whole point.
But then he goes back to camp as a rogue person.
He doesn't necessarily go back as a rogue person. I think it's easily explainable. I think you can easily go back to camp and be like, okay, because he said in his little one-on-one thing, he was like, I was afraid he had an idol, so I'm going to vote for this person that's not Tyson.
But
and
you
he just
tell somebody, and maybe he did. And
but
maybe
if he tells someone, then they'll know. Someone will throw a vote on him, and then the plan only works 100% of the time if he doesn't tell anybody. If he knows that they're voting for Tyson. The only risk there for him was if that one vote not going to Tyson ended up getting him voted out because it was more split than it ended up being.
Yes, I guess the way I see it is like, since he was the target, so we thought.
One of them.
Yeah, since he was one of the targets, you would think he would not be the one to throw his vote somewhere else.
Right.
Because of what you said. Because what if that was the deciding factor?
Which we've seen before in the past, for sure.
So
we've seen either it end in a tie or someone get voted out because they threw a vote at somebody else. But I think strategically it made sense, and maybe he was more confident in the votes going down than he kind of let off after the vote, where it seemed like he was very nervous. So do you agree with the vote? Do you think it was the correct decision to get rid of Tyson? Obviously, it's individual to each player, but overall.
When they first proposed that, yes, and then when Tony had his big epiphany of but then we lose a shield and blah blah blah.
Right.
I liked his reasoning. I think he was a little too late on the execution. Tony? Yeah.
So it pretty much immediately when they came back from Tribal and Tyson was going around being like, okay, it's going to be Nick, it's going to be Nick, it's going to be Nick. It was really weird, and maybe it's just because they haven't had to really deal with Tribal to this point, this tribe, except for one time, and they got rid of Amber. Yes, yeah. Amber's the only one that's been voted off of this tribe to this point. Maybe Tyson was just a lot of practice because it seemed like a very, if someone from more of the old school camp would have made this kind of move where he just went around it's going to be the guy that messed up the challenge and we're all voting for him, right? And just went into Tribal super confident. That felt like a very Kim type move or someone like that, Danny type move, where it seems like the game has passed them by a little bit. So it's weird to see such an experienced player go into it. And he said it immediately after he got voted out. He was like, yeah, it was too easy. I should have seen it coming.
He walked up to everybody and was like, Nick, we good? And
right. Which is never a good thing. As soon as he was doing that, I was looking at you, I was like, it's going to be Sarah or Tyson.
When you have 8 of your 9 people saying, yeah, it's good, It's not good.
And it was just clearly built up TV-wise to be like, okay, Sarah and Tyson are suddenly super close, and it's very clear that they're super close, and they're hanging out all the time, and Tyson's trying to get Nick out, and everybody's agreeing, but in reality, it makes no sense for 4 of the people. Kim was kind of in the middle. Made no sense for 4 of the people to vote for Nick, because Nick being one of them, and then Yul, Wendell, and Sophie being the connected alliance at this point. Mm-hmm. So it was, in terms of agreeing with the vote, it depends on who you are. I think in an ideal world, Sandra and Tony, and especially Sarah, because she was so close to Tyson, would have voted out someone like Wendell or someone like Nick, but they kind of just went with the flow of just where the votes were going, and they couldn't have done anything about it anyway, and it kind of makes it an even playing field.
The idols are playing more skittishly.
I like how you just used quotes at me, but they can't see quotes. The quote-unquote idols?
Yeah, are playing more skittishly than the one-time winners.
The idol. Okay, I thought you meant the idols, sorry. The advantages. No, the experienced players, multiple-time players.
Yeah, the experienced players are playing more skittishly than the one-time players, which is kind of surprising. But I guess they have a bigger reputation to uphold, and that's probably why.
Well, I mean, specifically for DeCall, I would say yes. But I would say on the other side, Rob and Parv or anything.
Rob's killing it.
Yeah, Rob and Parv or anything but skittish. But I would say for DeCall, it's pretty accurate. But again, it could just be, it's been almost 2 weeks and they've been to one tribal and it was a pretty easy vote for Amber, or 2 weeks at the point of the episode. So I think we're relatively on the same page. It just depends on kind of who you were. But can we talk about how they got to tribal in the first place? Can we talk about the challenge that was
there was something
a disaster for the most part?
There was something I wanted to bring up, and then I lost my train of thought.
We'll put a pin in it.
I lost my train of thought.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. I'm going to have to keep that in, too.
It's a good one.
Oh, I hate it. I'm cringing.
Anyways,
Challenge. Yes. It was a complete disaster at one point in the challenge for both tribes.
Denise, all she did.
Yes.
All Denise did was climb a ladder one time and jumped off a diving board.
I could be wrong, but I don't think Denise appeared in a confessional. I don't think she appeared in any individual scene.
Nope, she appeared with somebody at the watering place saying, wow, Adam's helping out around camp now.
Oh, and we're bashing Adam for actually doing stuff around camp montage? That was her only screen time because, like you said, in the challenge, she was in the boat.
She didn't even need a sit-out bench. She just sat out in the challenge.
They basically did the challenge with 6 people. She was in the boat, and you said that she jumped once? I don't recall her jumping once.
She was the very first jump. And then she sat at the back of the boat. She didn't even help pull up Nick. No. Yeah, Adam. Every time he was
Easily
going.
Confused.
Parvati was the one pulling up Adam, and Denise was in the back like, come on, you got it.
So this is, you always love to like point out when a challenge is different. I don't recall there ever being a walk the plank and jump really high in the air to grab your key thing. I could be wrong, but off the top of my head, like this kind of going to get the key thing felt different, and I would be shocked if they ever do it again, because there was about 3 catastrophic injuries that almost happened. Like, they've done jump off the tall thing to get the key, but the key is out in front of you. They've never done a walk out onto this little beam and jump, and the key is like half a foot out from the beam you're jumping off of.
Yeah, it's like
up
half
high
a foot,
as opposed to out in front.
Yeah.
Which to me feels incredibly dangerous. Like Adam, you said you thought
almost broke his ankle and scraped his entire spine.
Right, there was one where it's like jumping off a diving board, but like only jumping half a foot in front of the board. Like you're gonna touch it or you're gonna run into it. I'd be shocked if they ever did that part of the challenge again, because that looked terrifying.
Yeah, that was so bad. And poor Adam. He was like, I had a teacher
he can't
in 8th
be
grade.
6 foot tall. Like he's got to be like he's a short guy.
I had a teacher in 8th grade, and she said when Adam wants to do something, he will do it. And I'm like, man, that teacher was right, Adam. And I don't even really like Adam that much, but like, no,
I don't. I think Adam's approval rating is near the bottom of the list on this season right now. But I will say that we'll get back to the challenge in a second. But for Adam specifically, I think it's just the part of me that wants to play like devil's advocate and be on the other side of the argument. I did at least like how he immediately went into survival mode, and he went into like, I'm just going to do everything I can around camp, and I'm going to be so contrite and be like, he didn't try and play it off like, oh, my move didn't work out. Sorry, guys, let's work together again. He was just like, I screwed up. Like, I'm at the bottom. Like, what do you need?
He went to everyone and apologized. Right. Michelle straight up said, well, now you see what happens when you go against the vote.
That was a big you-know-what move from Michelle. Like, that phrase from her was like, yeah, you screwed up. Come and talk to me in like talk to me in like 2 weeks. That was a weird Michelle moment.
Super weird. Well, and she didn't even say it with an attitude. Like, she didn't have like tone.
Some sass in there.
She was just like, well, now you know what happens when you go against the vote.
I felt some sass. Maybe I'm a little bit more perceptive to the sass.
But I don't know why.
I'm experienced.
But then he's like the scene of him carrying like 75 branches to the fire and stuff like that.
It's as if he'd never picked up a stick before this point in the show, and now suddenly he's like, can I fetch you some water?
Yeah, he took everybody's water bottle to the water hole.
Which I get it. Like, you got to try and do anything you can.
He was washing dishes. He was like, oh, you need me to watch the fire? Okay, I'll watch the fire. Like, everybody was loving it.
That Michelle comment, though, is really interesting, because there's a different part of the episode where her and Rob are having a conversation, and she's basically, it was so strange that they left it in, that they put this part in, because it was literally 20 seconds, where it was just her and Rob playing at his office at the rope swinging game that's in every episode, and she's just like, yeah, I mean, I kind of got some flack because of how I won, and people thought Aubrey should have won, and people thought I didn't deserve it. And Rob was like, no, I mean, you won, you deserve it. People don't understand what it takes to win the game. And it was only like 20 seconds, so it was strange that it was in. But related to that, it was her comment to Adam, like, now you know what that's what you get type deal, was almost like her trying to show off a little bit to kind of counteract the way she played the first time. The way she played the first time was so social and so nice, and she was friends with everybody, and she got a lot of those friend jury votes that kind of come and go depending on the season, but I think that might have been a moment where she was in the back of her mind, like, I need to kind of own this a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because like going back and thinking about that previous episode, she was in charge of more of that episode than I recalled. When you and I talked about it, I was just so focused on the Adam part. She really, like, she was you were right.
Jeremy.
Like, she was one of the people really going around and making things happen.
Yeah. Now, back to the challenge. I couldn't help but think the entire time, poor Adam is going to break his ankle, scratch his back, and pass out retrieving these keys just to get voted off.
Like, he shouldn't be the person doing it. Like, they clearly miscalculated that part of it. And, like, I wouldn't have thought about it either, because every time they've done the jump for the key thing, it's been an athletic thing. You know, I'm not going to throw Sandra up there, but it's not like
part of me could get it.
Right. Like, it's not like you need to be big and tall and be able to jump high. And so they had guys, you know, like Rob and like Jeremy pulling the boat, which makes complete sense.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, like, in that moment,
they needed Michelle in the boat because she's taller.
Right, but in that because Parvati was getting kind of close, she just wasn't tall enough. But in that moment, like, I felt bad for Adam, because this just wasn't the role he should have been placed in, and they just didn't understand it.
Well,
and
he probably still could be, because the first two he got just fine.
They took a couple of stabs at the first couple ones. It's not like he just went up and got it right away.
But the last one was like
he shouldn't have had to get all three of them.
Yeah, and and if Denise did anything.
Yeah, Denise was non-existent in the episode in the challenge. But I wouldn't be surprised if Red also didn't understand how difficult that was, and they just happened to have a taller person. I can't even remember, because they barely showed it because it took so long for Blue to get their keys. But I wouldn't be surprised if they just got lucky with that part of the challenge, which they ended up not winning anyway. But
possibly. So then we get to the puzzle, and you didn't notice this, but I was like, no, Red has a huge hole, like, in the second row. It's like 4 rows or whatever. I'm like, no, they have a huge hole. And I'm telling you, like, because on the front side, it looked perfect. So I don't know how they got that messed up. And Blue, after 700 hours, somehow made it to the puzzle.
It's a relatively, like, symmetrical puzzle. So they probably had a top right piece and the bottom left. Like, or, like, flipped, oriented the wrong way. But yeah, it was one of those where, like, it seemed like, for one thing, they definitely eased up and they let their foot off the gas, and they weren't really trying super hard at the puzzle. They were, like, kind of thinking it out.
Tony on the sit-out bench was like, fall.
That was one of the first signs, and I was like, okay, they might be bringing this back, because I thought the same thing in the challenge that Rob messed up the puzzle.
No, the last challenge was
was it the one where it was super close and Sarah knocked out the piece? Regardless, there was one where Tony was doing the same thing, and he was sitting out, or he was just not actively doing the challenge.
He wasn't doing the puzzle, and he was yelling out numbers or something.
He was trying to confuse them. They were doing the turnstile thing or whatever.
Exactly.
Anyway, regardless, generally that's a sign of, like, oh, they're about to come back. And it wasn't true the first time, but it was true this time. But yeah, it was one of those puzzles where it looked like they were doing well, but in reality they only had like 1 or 2 pieces that actually made sense, because they were gonna have to take out the other ones.
Yeah, they got all the way to the top, and then they were like, wait a second, we have like a 3-prong puzzle piece, and we have 1 hole to fill. Like, what happened? They had to take it all apart. And at this point, Rob, like, tuned into the puzzle and was just like, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I think that's the important part. I do an actual puzzle with Rob.
I think that's an important part to bring up, is, like, as much of a choke job as it was for DeCall, right? I get these mixed up. Sele is Blue, DeCall is red. For DeCall to, like, basically throw the challenge away by screwing up the puzzle, I would love to know. I'd love to have a stopwatch on how quickly Rob and Michelle, put that puzzle together. Because it's not like, like, Red started fumbling at the end, but they, we're still kind of seeing it. And Rob and Michelle just walked up, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was like 5 to 10 minutes, and they were done with the puzzle. Like, credit goes to them for winning the challenge.
I take the right side, and they just, even though
the last like 6 pieces went in 20 seconds.
Yeah, it was insane.
And it was so I want to, like, give them credit for winning the challenge. I don't think Red necessarily just lost it. I definitely think Blue just went up and, like, okay, we're going to get this done on this puzzle. So,
and I will say my favorite quote of the episode was Jeff going, and, oh my gosh, Sele wins! Yeah. He was more surprised than the tribe itself.
Jeff understands the TV moment. He's there. And Jeremy was, like, sitting on the ground in disbelief, because you got to understand, like, you have no idea how long the swimmers were in the water on the buoy, just hanging out.
I will say, though, the buoy was a smart idea.
Imagine they're treading water, because you have no idea how long they're out there. Because, I mean, it probably takes Adam no less than 2 minutes to get back up the ladder and jump again. And think about how many times
like 3 to 4.
You know what I mean? Yeah, by the more tired he gets. Like, they might have been in the water for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So you got to think at that point, okay, we're not winning this. And then for them to come up and get the puzzle straight away was impressive. And I was happy, personally, because I never liked
this tribe wins every
right, and they end up with 6, and then they end up with 5. We're getting a teaser for next week that they are swapping. We were convinced that it was going to be a swap this week.
And then you saw the water platform, which is something I've never noticed.
So we were talking throughout the entire episode just because of the way that they were building everything up. DeCall was super buddy-buddy. They're like, oh, this is great. We're having a great time. And Sele was talking about how we're going to get out. It was very clear, like, this is our plan of attack, right?
Similar to last episode.
Right. And so it was very much building up like, okay, they're going to swap. Because they do that all the time when they make everything seem happy and super clear cut. And then they screw everything up. But then they go to the challenge and it just hit me. Like, I'd never thought about this before.
He says, oh, they're on a water platform. They're not going to swap. Like, he just knew. Oh, and
I have no evidence to justify that. But as soon, I cannot recall them ever swapping and they're not on sand.
Well, in the moment, you supposedly did have evidence because you looked at me and can you recall the last time you swapped
No,
on
but
a water
I'm saying, like, I don't have, like, the numbers in front of me.
Yeah, but you, like,
to say, like,
feeling yourself.
95% of all swaps have occurred on sand. But I don't know. It just clicked in my head.
Also, I made the point that I don't think they really swap at immunity challenges. I think it's normally
But they don't have a choice in this season. They're doing one challenge an episode.
Which is kind of lame because I love the challenges.
They should do hour-and-a-half episodes. They should have done hour-and-a-half episodes for this season. Like, take out half an hour of Judge Judy or whatever else is on CBS early in the day. Have it run from 7:30 to 9. Judge Judy's, like, retiring, by the way. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah, she's done after this season. I don't know if you...
do a Judge Judy podcast.
No. We have a better odds of doing, like, a Seinfeld podcast than a Judge Judy podcast. I've never watched Seinfeld.
Okay.
So, but, golly, where were we just at? We completely lost our train of thought. Hour and a half episode. Hour and a half episodes. Because we love the challenges. Not everybody does, but we love the challenges. And I understand they have to keep. There were a lot of really good.
Not everybody loves the challenges.
No, if you talk to people, not everybody. Okay, not everybody has that as like their favorite thing in Survivor. They like the character moments. They like the bonding. They like the strategy. They like watching people play the game more than just the challenges.
I like seeing people like dig through the
team challenges. The individuals are very dramatic. The team challenges, some people aren't as big of a fan.
True.
But I understand the need to keep the character moments, and there were a lot of really good ones, even one that brought you to tears in this episode. And so that's my thing, is like, I don't want to lose any of the character stuff that we had in this episode. I don't want to lose that. So that's what I'm saying, add the half an hour so we can have an extra challenge.
Yeah, the 20-second you won. So therefore,
no, I thought that was important because we hadn't seen a ton of Michelle and Rob one-on-one conversations, and I really think it was connected to the way that she treated Adam.
Maybe it's foreshadowing too, because he won the game, and she was like, "Oh, you win, good game."
So is that your Rob's winning the season argument? No, just say it, claim it right now, because if it happens, it'd be super cool.
Rob wins the season.
And why did he win the season?
Because he won the game.
Foreshadowing, right? What game?
Hold
on. Wait, T.O. Reset. I'm not cutting this out. This is just all real, okay? Here's the scenario. Whenever, I don't even know how long.
The last challenge.
No.
The challenge.
It's not a ring toss game. No. Listen.
Imagine.
So, however many episodes the season is, right? It's a couple months from now. It's the season finale, and Rob is there. And Rob ends up winning. Okay? We're going to play back this clip that you're about to give us right here of you claiming that you knew Rob was going to win when he won the ring toss game.
You know what's weird?
So, you got to give us the clip so we can play it back a couple months from now.
In season 40, episode 4, Winners at War, Rob winning the ring toss game is foreshadowing when Michelle goes, and you win the game. Good game. Rob wins season 40.
It's not as much passion as I would have hoped for, but
Rob wins season 40. Woo!
Okay, there we go. Cool.
Anyways, what I was going to say is Rob and my dad have a lot in common.
Why is that?
Both born outside of Boston.
Okay, there's a lot of people like that.
Both own a construction company.
He owns a construction company?
My dad?
No, Rob.
Yeah.
How you know that? You're looking through his financial records?
He gets sponsored.
Well, he was in construction when he started, but I don't know.
Yeah. How do you say their last name?
Marianos.
They own a construction company.
How do you know that?
Because he gets sponsored on my Instagram every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. On my Instagram stories, it's him in a truck, and he's like, "Hey, guys." And he's
it makes sense. I mean, if he knows what he's doing, he makes money.
Look it up on your phone.
I'm not going to look it up.
I'm going to look it up.
He comes across to me as someone that needs to work, so I get it. Like, I don't think he's just going to be chilling on the beach in Florida forever, every day with his millions. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or their collective millions.
I just tried to... Yeah, they live in Florida now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mariana Construction, Florida.
That's cool. I wonder how involved he is, though. Like, I wonder if he's just like...
I'm going to connect.
So those are your only two connections, by the way, to your dad? Is the fact that he's in Boston and owning a construction company?
The owning a construction company kind of narrows it down.
It does, but...
Oh, no,
there's no, like, personality things?
I just followed him on LinkedIn.
I'm glad. Maybe he'll hit us up. Maybe he'll want to come on the podcast.
So then we go to Extinction, and I find it funny that they sent Amber to find the box, because my first thought was, yeah, of course, Amber.
The box?
The box of clues of, like, what they have to do.
Like the board game?
Yeah. No, the box. Remember, she walked to the pole, and she was like, "Oh, I saw a box for us," and my stomach dropped. And I'm like, of course they sent Amber, because she's been super helpful.
It's a TV thing for sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, they all get a chance to win a fire token, and they have to climb up and down the stairs and the rocks and everything. Ooh, death, basically. They basically have to...
We both said we wouldn't do it.
No.
But I think the larger point that I got from it was that these fire tokens have to become more valuable. For that amount of effort to be put in, like, they have to mean... And, like, the only thing that I can think of is, like, in terms of importance to them and not just in the game in general, is like you can individually buy like 4 advantages with your fire. Like Natalie can buy 4 advantages, but that seems unfair. Like I'm continually trying to come up with the significance of these fire tokens because they were a relatively big part of the promotional material.
What if at 10
and like
you could buy your way to the final 4?
Oh, there's no way.
How crazy would that be?
Because I really think that it's going to be some kind of like collective like pooling your tokens together situation. Maybe. with an alliance.
But anyways, Natalie was running.
Yeah,
jogging.
She was crushing it.
I mean, she's a croc
fit trainer.
A CrossFit
Rarely
trainer.
seen. They work out in Crocs.
Yes. So like, I get it, but at the same time,
I think that she was running through the sand because it's. I don't know. My only thing was like maybe it's a little bit easier to run through the sand as opposed to walk.
Maybe
like because she wasn't sprinting like. She
was jogging, which sometimes feels harder to me
than walking in general, yes, but on sand, I feel like it's a little easier. I don't know. I feel like she would put that much thought into it.
Amber, honestly, I was actually really impressed with Danny, who is...
I thought they were all going to wither and die, except for Natalie. Natalie was the only one that I had confidence was going to do it.
So, yeah, Natalie was the only one beginning that I thought was going to have no problem, but really Amber and Danny didn't have any problems.
I'm sure they had plenty of problems.
Amber was crying at the end. Natalie was crying. Danny walks up and she's like, I'm like Rocky. Like, she's celebrating. She's like, let's drink, guys. Woo!
Right.
Poor Ethan.
Yeah, it was a rough time for him.
Had to get checked out by the medical team. They let him rest for a little bit, and he still finished.
I love Ethan. I'm gonna like. We can go. I'm sure like if someone wanted to, like they could go back and listen to when we talked about Ethan before the season. We didn't have a whole lot to say about him just because he's such an older player, one of the oldest players in terms of gap between when he played last and when he won. And I'm sure this is a shared opinion. Like we don't talk to a lot of other people that watch Survivor as religiously as we do, but I'm sure a lot of other people as well that aren't as experienced with the earlier seasons are big fans of Ethan now. I think that's kind of a collective. Like they're like he's just a good dude.
It's kind of like Yule.
Like, in what way? Because I have very strong feelings about Yule. I have very strong feelings.
For me, like he's like my Yule as well. Like I didn't really know much about him, but now I'm like, man.
Okay. In contrast, I was okay.
Yeah, I just want to hear him talk, and he's so smart and he's so good. But like Ethan, with him, this is the character moment that made me cry because everybody did the last lap with him, which nice. You said you wouldn't.
No,
you straight up said, I would not do that. F you, Ethan. I'm not going 21 times just for you to go 20. No, you're mean. But,
I wouldn't have done it in general, to be completely honest.
Let him lead the pack.
Correct.
Like he was.
Well, on the way back, Natalie was in the front. When the last shot of them walking at the beach, Natalie was in the front.
Well, them coming across the rocks, he was in the front. And it was just super sweet, and it made me cry, because it just shows, like, what happened. I feel like it gave more insight in that moment to what happens on Extinction than anything else.
Other than the fact that DeCall can see it from their camp.
Oh, that was so creepy. And Sophie related it to a prison.
Which we did. You didn't do that in high school.
No, and I wouldn't have gone if we did.
It was Law and Justice. And
I didn't take Law and Justice. We didn't even offer that.
Do you want me to tell you, or do you want you to tell me?
Law and Justice.
Yes, it was an easy elective. It was like the easiest A of all time.
We offered like wood shop.
It was super easy. You know what we did for our final? We wrote a 1-page paper about something about our thoughts on crime, and then we watched The Dark Knight for the last 3 hours because it was a 3.5-hour exam period. Can I tell
I'm so, like, why would they teach high schoolers about law and crime?
Okay, we're not like...
Am I going to become a police officer
We're not learning
16?
About, like, precedents. Like, we watched Law and Order for half the classes.
You should propose that they get Tony to present to the class. I feel like he would have.
We literally watched
insight.
Law and Order and wrote papers about Law and
Paper
Order.
Wars?
I don't know what word just came out of my mouth. Papers. I love the fact that there's so many could be bloopers in this, so we just leave it in there. Anyway, yes, we did go to a prison, and was it a prison or a jail? There's no way we went to a prison. I feel like it might have been a prison.
Like murders.
Well, so jail is like.
Speeding.
So to be clear, we are the least authoritative people of all time to be talking about this because neither of us have any idea, in all honesty.
Today on the way home, I saw a cop and I was like, oh, look, he's helping somebody fix their car. Nope, it was just an accident and he was reporting and writing tickets. So he was really just doing his job, not going out of the way. But
we're on the longest tangent of all time. I'm going to
glad.
wrap up the tangent. So it was a thing you had to sign a waiver for. I'm pretty positive it was a prison because they had like blocks of like, you go like upstairs and downstairs and there would be a block and then there'd be cells within the block. And the most memorable thing about the entire situation was we were walking around with the prison guard, or it's not a tour guide, it's a prison guard, right? And I had my hands in my pockets because I was just walking around, whatever. And the prison guard was like, yeah, you're going to want to take your hands out of your pockets because what if one of the prisoners like breaks out and you need to have your hands to like hold them back or do something with your hands. I was like, okay, and I walk on my hands out of my. So no, it was legitimately
You're just
terrifying.
Around like a surgeon,
right? It was
just like, don't touch me.
Well, it was a legitimately terrifying experience. And before we went, they told the girls to like dress very modestly because the guys would like say some pretty reckless things.
Do they separate prisons by your?
Like what you did? Like these are all the people that killed people? I have no idea. I don't think so. I think there's like different, again, I'm
different
speaking from zero level of expertise.
I used to work with a prison guard at my last job.
Okay.
And there is different levels of like security.
But it's not
for, like,
all the same thing,
risk
right?
And stuff like that. But it's not all the same thing. But I'm just wondering, like in those blocks, it's like, these are the murderers. These are the...
They have a sign over the top of the cell block.
Hi,
they have a post.
to the murder street.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're back. Oh, you're on our block this time. You killed someone. You didn't rob anybody, but you killed someone.
It's not funny.
Okay, so this is related to Edge of Extinction.
Yeah, being able to see, because Sophie goes, it's like this time in high school when they took us
Why are you saying it like that? It's a real thing. Maybe she went to high school in North Carolina.
But it was just a weird thing for her to relate it to.
I think it's more common. I think it's more common than you think that it is.
No, but I'm just saying it's not like they're prisoners. She was like, it's scary to look at them out there.
Well, so she was relating it to like the experience of visiting the prison as like a scared straight thing. So seeing Extinction is like visiting the prison and like, I don't want to go there. And it's like a constant reminder of being terrified of Extinction.
It makes me wonder if Sally can also see them. Because
I don't know. Unless they're like on a...
If it's like an M-shaped island and it's like...
Yeah, like if like on a compass, they're like on the complete opposite side of the island.
It could be a W if you want.
I don't know. I feel like they should let us tour the island like the Mamma Mia one that you want to go to so bad.
Oh, yeah. I want to go to Calicari.
You want to go back to the episode now?
Yeah.
Are we good? The tangent's over?
Yep.
So where did we get to from there? Oh, because we were talking about Extinction and then I jumped over to the Sophie comment. So do we have anything more on Extinction?
Except the awful face-ups.
Yeah, they're still close-ups. Face-ups. You get your face-up game in basketball. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I don't know what else we have for Extinction other than the really nice moment with Ethan. We love Ethan. I wanted to talk about Yule because you brought him up and I have really strong feelings about Yule.
I want Yule to be sponsored by Kindle to just read audiobooks.
You want him to be like an audiobook narrator.
Yeah. Ooh, or like speak lullabies in daycares.
I think we should have a legitimate ranking of this at some point, but if we're talking about like dream scenario podcast guests, I think Yule's number one. I don't think it's close.
I wouldn't talk the whole time. I'd just be like...
I would ask him questions, and that would be it. I would have no comments.
No, I would write down my questions, and I want him to read them and then answer them. Because I love his voice. It's just soothing. So it's day 10 when the episode starts, and he is celebrating.
Yep, great time to be alive.
He's jumping on people's backs. He was like, it's a great day. We made it to day 10. We're a quarter of the way there. Like, he's loving life. And
every time you mock somebody, it sounds mean, by the way. Every single time that you mock anyone, like it's always, like it's never a positive mocking. I don't know how you could, but like you're never being kind to the impression. You always make them sound dumb.
I mean, what do I do? Oh,
you could have just done
monocle and I'm Yule.
See, you just did it again. Like you can't do like a just impression of Yule and be really calm with your thoughts. Be like, hey guys, I'm so glad we're day 10.
He
really
wasn't
excited.
though. He was jumping on
but
Nick's back.
Don't. Are you trash talking Yule?
No, I'm just saying though.
It's gonna be a big divide in our relationship.
Like, hey, I can't do it.
So
I'm just always gonna
I think
mock
one of the
people.
things that Yule benefits from is, I think even as much as we love Rob, Parvati, and Sandra, and we love those people, Sandra not so much. I try so hard not to say bad things about Sandra because I don't want it to be an every episode thing. Anyway, as much as we love those iconic players, I think there is a little bit of fatigue sometimes when people come back so much, right? There can be a little bit too much
Like
Sandra.
it's Rob doing Rob again.
Right. But with Yule, this is only the second time we've seen him, and people have been wanting for him to come back for so long. It's like, imagine if, because they played in the same season.
Man came back.
Well, imagine if like Ozzy played in that season. And that was the only season he played with Yule when he lost. And then he came back for this. Like, imagine how hype you would be to see Ozzy again. Not for the same reasons as Yule.
I'm still hyped to see Ozzy every time.
I
he
am
shows
too.
up.
But like remember how excited I was to see Eric for the second time. You know what I mean? There's something about finally getting to see that person for the second time rather than like Kelly Wentworth for the 15th time. Like, we love Kelly, but it's not like, oh, it's Yule. We're so excited. And Yule's he's the homie.
Also, Yule, if you ever listen to this, please slide into Tucker's DMs and let him know what your workout schedule is and what
I need
do.
it. Sorry. We'll talk about this and like as soon as Yule showed up, I was like, I need his chest workout. Like, I need to know what he's doing. Because he's got to be, I don't know his age at the top of my head, but he's got to be like at least late 30s, minimum.
Do you think it's his chest workout that you need or
his
abs?
His upper ab workout?
I think it's his abs. Because
I mean, it's obviously a combination.
I feel like
he's a
you
very
have
in shape guy.
the width of the chest,
right?
But he has the cut of the abs.
He's got the V, the top V and the lower V. No, but I'm talking about like from it's like a.
All right, you don't slide
angled.
Into Tucker's
it's like
DMs.
a very angled
Apparently
physique.
He will leave me for you.
It's an angled physique. I love.
Anyways, he's buff. He is by far now.
And also,
we haven't really seen him like perform a lot of strength tasks.
He was really good in his first season with challenges. I wouldn't be surprised if endurance-wise...
They haven't had many, like, physical challenges, like heavy... I mean, I guess they had the, like... But we haven't really seen Yule step up.
Individual, not, like, within a team challenge, one individual, like, very physical, with the exception of the first one where they're throwing each other around.
That's true.
Remember?
Yeah.
Which I feel like he performed pretty well.
Because I want to say, when they were doing, like, the human walls up the thing, he wasn't really involved in being...
Regardless, when he played the first time, which granted was a long time ago, he was a very good individual challenge player, especially the endurance stuff, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was still the case. But I also, on top of the physical stuff, he would be my vote for whenever Jeff Probst decides to not do Survivor anymore. If they want to continue the show, Yule should be the host. Yeah. Absolutely. That would be my day one petition.
Jeff
yes.
Go on Survivor.
No shot. No, Jeff is pure. Jeff is pure as the host and
Survivor Game Host Edition.
Who would you want? Like, what game show host?
Steve Harvey. That's the only one I could
You don't know any... Family Feud's the only... What's Pat Sajak and Vanna White as a blood versus water combo from Wheel of Fortune?
What's the... Julie...
Huh?
Julie from
what
Big
show?
Brother. Big Brother. You wouldn't know.
Oh.
Julie from Big Brother. She's the
Chris
host.
Harrison?
Wait
He would last 2 days. I don't know why I'm talking like I would last longer than 2 days, but I'm sorry, Chris.
I take it back. I'm sorry.
Can we really not think of it? And these aren't even game show. These are reality TV show hosts.
I said Steve Harvey.
What about the Impractical Jokers guys? Just put them on there.
They'd be fun. Sal.
Yeah.
That's the only one I know.
The white guys from Impractical Jokers.
Sal.
This is the most millennial like host combinations we've been able to put together. We can't think of anybody. Drew Carey should go on.
Oh,
that'd be great.
Smack.
He would be so good.
He would be.
Ooh, just say Wayne Brady, Ryan Stiles, Colin Mockery. They should all go.
Yeah, but now we're getting away from hosts.
I don't care. I'm just thinking of personalities. It would be great to have on Survivor because they've had like Jimmy Johnson, the head coach, like Pro Football Hall of Famer, Jimmy Johnson, and he got voted off because he's Jimmy Johnson. But like they've had a couple of really good basketball, like Scott Pollard, Cliff Robinson. They've had famous people.
They had the baseball player.
The baseball player.
Yeah, wasn't there a baseball?
Oh, the pitcher that was like, "Oh, I'm not a baseball player, but I'm a baseball player," and he was the disgraced pitcher that was like had like racist remarks or something in the past. Yeah. And then there was Culpepper as well, who was a football player.
Oh, that's true.
So they've had famous people, but like. I don't know.
Culpepper is more famous for being
I do think that they're going to do something relatively special for the season following this, because I don't think they can follow this one up with just a regular, we're back to 20 random people.
I don't know. Maybe you'll see us on it. Well, no, they've already recorded it, haven't they?
I have no idea how it works, but we did both apply.
Yeah.
We're in the pool. How about that?
We
If they
on-
ever get down to us in the pile,
Our application stays active for 8 months. So
Does it really?
Yeah. It
Did
said
you read
if
that
you don't.
somewhere?
Yeah, it said if you don't get picked for this, it stays active.
when did we
for,
apply?
like,
Last month? February? So
when this season started. So
October
yeah.
we need to reapply? No. Yeah, October is the time.
I think. I don't know.
Okay, cool. See you there.
I wanted to talk about next, like, what would you wear if you went on Survivor?
Not jeans. Bottom of the
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Bottom of the
because
list.
of
Very itchy.
Because of Wendell wearing jeans.
So
And he was not only jeans, but like very tight, skinny skater boy jeans.
this is why one of us needs to go on, and then we can come back with the experience of the show, because I'm interested.
You need to go on first, and then I'll go
I'm
on.
interested in like the protocol of all this, like what you can and can't bring, what you can and can't wear, because if there's no there has to be something, because otherwise people would show up with 18 layers of jackets and pants, because they're always cold when it rains. So there has to be something, like you can bring a jacket, a shirt,
Well,
and
you also bring a suitcase of stuff because
suitcase.
If you're on the jury,
But you don't bring it on the island with you. You put it in the
jury
hotel
house.
place or whatever. Yeah.
But I'm saying, like,
All this could be entirely wrong, by the way. We've never done it, but we're just
Yeah, I don't
assuming.
know.
There's no info for this.
I don't know if there's a jury house, a jury hut. I don't know
Right.
what they do.
They just party every night. That's the whole point.
They wear different clothes, that's for sure.
Yeah, they definitely bring other stuff, but they don't bring it on. There's no suitcase in a stack on the
I
island.
would totally be trying to sneak new clothes every
That's
day.
what I'm saying is, like, there has to be some
Also-
kind of process. Like, would you rock the
I
zippable
really-
jeans, the
I
zippable
really
pants where you can
wanna-
turn them into shorts?
That's a
Would you
smart
rock
idea.
those? I think people have done that before.
I really want to try a buff as a tube top. I really want to see if it works that well. I don't think it does.
I've questioned the tube top and the skirt use of the buff have always been very questionable to me.
I couldn't do the skirt. I got too thick of thighs. That's like Sandra trying to wear it.
But,
Just
like,
kidding. No, but
I don't know. I've always questioned the real viability of that and how comfortable
and it's
that
like,
actually is.
what bathing suit top would I wear? I've never seen anybody go on there with like the high neck bathing suit tops, but you see a lot of females popping out.
Yeah.
So like, should I wear a high neck?
I feel like you'd want a lot of support.
I'd want all the support.
Right. And so another thing to think about for me, like, would I go out there wearing like boxers that maybe are a little too small? Because if I'm out there for a while, I'm getting a little
That's
skinnier,
true.
and you don't want that
or
stuff
at least wear briefs.
falling off.
I think that's
Yeah.
why people wear briefs. Also, I would bring 17 hair ties. For sure.
Speaking of, Sophie randomly rocking the hair down look at Tribal. She was dressing up for Jeff.
One, if they break. Two, if I lose them, which that happens. And three, you gotta help a sister out. What
If
if
they
somebody
need one,
else
that's your
needs
bonding one. That's how you
Yeah.
bond with people. That's
Oh,
not bad.
I'm gonna have all the hair ties.
Hold on.
Anyways, I didn't even answer what I would wear. So I think I would wear like a comfortable like cotton tank top with some type of like sweater or sweatshirt over it, but not anything fuzzy. Like I'd want it to be just like maybe like a polyester, like my Columbia one, but not like a nice one. And then maybe like fleece lined leggings so that it's like warm, but they're not heavy.
Right.
And they're like versatile and I can do kicks and stuff.
So depending, like, I don't know what any of the rules are to this stuff, but assuming I can bring a jacket, which we've seen people bring jackets, I know that my shirt would definitely be like a long sleeve dry fit or like a long sleeve SPF shirt, because you know sunburn is going to be an issue for me.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Day
A
one.
bucket hat would be there. I'd wear
Okay.
a bucket hat,
Broken it.
and then like a pretty heavy jacket, because I feel like I'm either going to be
Like your ski jacket?
but like a pretty, this is
parka?
going to keep me warm type jacket, because I feel like you're never really going to be in between. You're never just
I'm
never
bringing
just
one
going to
of
need
your
like a
jackets.
you're never just going to need like a leisure jacket where it's like, oh, it's kind of nippy out. You're either going to be, okay, it's beaming hot, here's my dry fit, or it's really cold and it's raining. Like, here's my like windbreaker or
I'm
whatever.
definitely bringing one of your jackets so I can tuck into a ball into it.
And then, so for pants, they definitely be loose on the legs. I don't want sand rubbing all up against my legs. That's the worst feeling. But I feel like I would want pants and not shorts. But I also feel like that would maybe like there'd be some rubbish.
You need the SPF zip-off pants. They make SPF pants.
I'd
as
look
well.
like such a safari tourist about to go on a
With your
walkabout.
bucket hat.
Had to go a walkabout.
And your New Balances just...
Right, and the shoe thing is weird because...
There's people wearing flip-flops.
You know someone's come on with those ninja shoes with the individual toes. You know someone's like the little frog shoes. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I guess I would just rock a regular pair of tennis shoes, but a pair of tennis shoes I don't care about.
I would want something like Roche's or like...
You know what one of my worst Survivor like cringe moments was? When they got to the end of the season that Chris won, the Edge of Extinction season, and Dean was at the end with a pair of like nice Jordans. And I was like, homie, why did you bring like $200 shoes? They're like, my lucky pair. Why am I doing the you mocking thing? They're like, yeah, they're my lucky pair of shoes. And that's what he took. And it only came up at the very end because someone hid them. Because they were mad at him. Remember they like hid them on the sign or whatever? I was like, why are we bringing like I would bring a pair of shoes that I have heavily worn already. I'm not buying a new pair of shoes to go on Survivor.
You're all about comfort too.
Right. And I had some insoles in there.
You know, if my dad went on Survivor, he would be hitting up Ross for a pair of shoes. He loves a good pair of shoes.
The only other thing would be like, if I'm running a challenge, maybe I would be barefoot in some of them. So would I rock like some Chacos?
Ooh, you need
would
some
that
Chacos.
I mean,
I have some
the
Chacos.
tan line would be really bad. But I feel like comfort-wise, it would be there.
But it's like artsy to
because
have
you also got to
Chacos
think about like breathability is important. Because imagine how stinky your shoes. They get wet once. You got some stinky feet. You haven't showered in forever.
Mine would be.
And there'd be no
bad.
way for them to get like
Mine
unstinky.
would be bad just getting on the beach.
You'd have to like wash them out and then just stuff coconut into your shoe and hope it smelled like coconut instead of feet dank.
Yeah, mine would be super bad. I'd have to wear like Chacos. Imagine you wouldn't touch my feet for a year and a half after I came back from Survivor.
You'd have to like boil them.
My feet?
Yes.
Ow!
Just
shed all the skin from them and start new.
You need some treatment for sure. So but I think we've kind of established like a baseline for what we would wear. But again, it could be completely different. Like there could be some kind of guideline you have to follow because they don't want someone to have like some huge advantage by having stuffing in their jacket or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
What are they gonna do? Weave together
Start
a blanket?
Fire? Just
I
don't know. But they let people have glasses.
Well, you have to. People have to be able to see.
No.
Would I go out in my glasses?
Or would you rock the contacts?
I feel like if one fell out, then
I feel like you have to do glasses.
I'd have to.
And if you lose them or they break, you're just SOL.
Man, I would be so helpless without them.
It'd be bad. Maybe you learn to see better. Get on it.
No, it would
give
me
LASIK.
A headache. I want LASIK.
Yeah, you'd have to before you went out
Imagine
there.
like somebody without
Survivor
glasses on the
pays for it.
island, and they're like doing like a relay race thing, and they have to like wait till someone.
When have they ever done a relay race?
I don't know.
Is that a thing? I guess they tag up.
Yeah, like
sometimes.
they tag,
okay.
or like somebody has to.
I was thinking of like a physical baton.
Before...
I was like, I don't recall a baton.
That's the baton.
Well, because that's the point you're making is they'll miss the exchange.
I was saying like they're looking to see if somebody's at the point where they
right
can
in front
start,
of them.
and you're just like. Or, like, if somebody has to do something on, like, a platform and then you're on the beach to start pulling them. And
yeah,
I'm
you're
like,
definitely not involved in any of the tossing things, which you probably wouldn't be involved in anyway.
I have super good hand-eye coordination.
Why would, are you going to be able to toss rings onto stuff?
Yeah.
I've just never observed this skill from you.
I'm really good at cornhole.
I was about to say you're not that great at cornhole.
Do you want to talk about the game of Can Jam that I threw the
I'm awful. If there's a
the,
frisbee challenge, that's up there on my worst nightmare list of challenges.
You would throw it like Wendell did, the underhand.
Frisbee is not for me. I can like a ring, I can throw that, but a frisbee that you got to throw it like on a line at somebody for them to catch it for it to go in a can, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think my expertise would be puzzles.
Yeah, you'd stay in your lane for sure. I would be average to above average at any land-based physical thing, and that would be it. Puzzles, I'd be below average. Any kind of strategic thing, I'd be okay at. Swimming, I'd be below average. So I'd literally be like the tall guy that does stuff and is like the bridge that pulls people up.
Jumping to get keys.
Right, or some kind of like relatively physical thing. I wouldn't be going up against like James, but like if Ben was out there, I'd be like, okay, this is probably my weight class.
Yeah, I can't swim, so I wouldn't be doing swimming. I wouldn't be volunteering to do a swimming
scenario,
portion.
Let's just say you're like top 5, right? And it's an individual challenge. What's your nightmare set of challenges? Like if there was a combination that was literally worst case scenario of like a multiple stage individual immunity challenge, like the crazy ones they do at the end with like the nets and the maze and all kinds of stuff.
That would be fun.
Okay, but like it's probably never happened before, but just like in your head, what would be your combination of like this would be awful? Swimming would be involved.
Swimming and the digging into the sand to go under the bar. I wouldn't be able to do it. I know for a fact.
Be a mental gap for you.
I would panic. I would spend the entire time digging.
You'd have the best tunnel of all time, but everybody else is already back at camp planning to vote you out because you're still digging.
Yes, I need like 6 times my body size to get underneath, because what if you got stuck? And then people go face down. Ugh, it freaks me out. So
being stuck in small spaces is a big fear of mine. Claustrophobia.
I would say that, swimming.
Which they're never combination ones. I'm just thinking of like individual ones. What if it was like an endurance water thing? They don't do this anymore. At least it doesn't seem like it. But you remember the one where they used to have you breathe under the grate as the tide came in?
Yeah, I hate that one.
I get so much anxiety just watching that.
I would also hate, even though I think I might be able to do it, you know, the big pole where they have to get the buckets of water. So I don't know why I applied to go on the show, because I get extreme social anxiety when people are watching me. So the entire time I would be thinking about how
you'd look at a
thousands of
camera and be
people
like,
are
oh my
watching
gosh,
me.
I'm screwing this up.
And then I would start shaking, and then the whole pole would start shaking. And like, what happens if you fall off that pole? Because we've never seen that
I just
happen.
feel like in things like that, I would have kind of an inherent advantage just because of having like a little bit longer reach, like being able to do the bucket and shorter
would be
poles.
like the person, I think it was the last season, that like started on her knees, and Jeff was like, no, you have to start on your feet with your hands up. It might not have been last season, but that would be me. Do I have to? Like,
it was a girl. I don't know who it was. Right.
Yeah, I would. Oh, it's
I just realized that they don't do the water grate thing anymore, which makes complete sense. By the way,
the thing where Jeff cranks you.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to get to as well. But the water with the grate thing, I would probably not even participate, because that's one of those where, like, if it came up and there was food to eat, I'm immediately out, just because I know there's 0% chance of me doing the water grate thing, because they're breathing like out of a tube that they made with their hands, like, then the cranking thing, I could probably. I'd like to think I'd be okay at endurance stuff.
I'd do it just for the back pops, for sure. Would you eat slugs and stuff?
So that's one of those that, like, it's gross, but I'd be mad at myself for not participating in the experience of the challenge. So I would do that. But I would go into it knowing that it was going to suck. And I feel like maybe that would, like, I just think, I don't know if mentally I would be able to convince myself it's fine. Because I do have not necessarily a sensitive stomach, but I'm weird about texture with my food anyway.
He is the pickiest person.
For texture and food, yes. I don't like squishy foods very often. I like crunch.
Squishy. Crunch is not a word.
I like crunch.
He's a dog.
You say it to our dog all the time.
Yeah.
It's a word.
But he's super picky in general.
So that would be an issue. So like an eyeball. Like you have like the eyeballs or the egg ones. Like,
but would you go in and be like, this is gonna taste like dog shit?
I would have to.
Can I say that?
No, we're leaving it in there, but relax.
But like, would you go in and be like, okay, I hate oatmeal. This is gonna taste like oatmeal, so that it, like, you're already ready for that texture? No, and
I also, like, in general, I think if things taste bad, the whole holding your nose thing,
it doesn't help.
I think it generally does actually help, but with these things, when the texture is so weird, it makes it worse. Like, it's literally like just having like Play-Doh in your mouth. Like, it's awful, I would imagine. Yeah. But
you never ate Play-Doh as a kid?
I would think, I don't remember the exact texture of Play-Doh in my mouth. I probably did eat Play-Doh as a kid.
Play-Doh's very salty.
Okay, I'm glad you know this, that you ate some last week. But I would have to, I know in my head, I would have, whatever it is, I'd have to eat it in like 5 seconds. Like, I can't be sitting there chewing on it and there'd like be guts and everything. Like, I have to just like, and go for it.
I didn't like that sound. Yeah,
ASMR podcast.
Stop. Yeah, but...
This could have been an entire podcast, just this challenge conversation we're having. We're not even, the title is going to be episode 4 review, and this isn't even an episode review anymore.
Well, it was. We reviewed the episode,
and
now we're reviewing
we got other things to talk about.
The episode that we've created in our minds.
We got anything else? We good? We going to see him next week? That's the plan?
Yep. See you next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.